Right, you funky punks, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into Affinity. I'm going to play around with the Vector Studio, the Layout Studio, the Pixel Studio, something super light, but I'm going to show you a few little tipsy tricksies that will change your life forever. So, do not hang around, come and play with MBJ. Let's go. That sounded great, didn't it, Timmy? That's great, love it. Good day, my friends. I am back here on the old YouTubeify, and what we're going to be doing today is in the last little MBJ episode of Affinity versus MBJ, or should be more Affinity Cuddle MBJ, because I love them. What we did in that first one is we looked at how to set up your own studio, super simple, and again in this video, again 10-15 minutes of your time. I don't want to take up too much of it, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to explore the individual studios so you can take a look at like vector, pixel and layout and some of the little bits and pieces in there. I'm only going to be able to show you like a light touch in each, but as you can see here, I've just got an artboard or a load of artboards open of just some of the stuff that I've been building for like social posts and bits and pieces like that, which is great. And as you know, last week we went in here and created our own studio, so I'm not going to go through that, but some of the other things in the UI here that you might not have come across yet are things like the export tool in the top right. Now, what's really important to understand is that you can like import and export your PSDs. I know that's been a big question on people's minds. So you can come down here and you can see all the different things you can export as, but also you can see here PSD, we can highlight that and bring that up. But for anybody that was wondering about like how well does it do with like smart objects and all of that stuff, like when you bring in your PSDs, it organizes the layers really well. So I just wanted to highlight that point for people. But what I'm going to do is I am now going to just show you a few things in the individual studios like I mentioned. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move over to Vector here so you can see where we are, and I'm just going to play around here. I'm just going to add some artboard or one artboard, but what I actually quite like is when you can see that we're in the artboard section because there's these little plus signs everywhere. But what I like about this is you can actually just kind of grab these artboards and move them around. So if you're obviously trying to change order of anything, it's very easy to do without like moving the isolated components and stuff like that. But what we're going to do here is we're just going to go on to this little artboard 12 here, and I'm just going to get my fill color right here, and we're just going to use the shape tool. You know, obviously all the classic shapes are here. More than you need, which is great. But what I'm going to do here, vector work for me, pen tool, pencil tool, a little bit of kind of node movements, we'll call them. But, you know, classic pen tool here. We're just going to, you know, we got it on a nice stroke, super smooth. And another thing I quite like about this is this little tool here, which is called the stroke width tool. And you can like add in extra little nodes here. Like I like to do a lot of drawing. I like to kind of give my work this like almost like pen pressure, and this tool allows you to do that. You can just kind of start to kind of bend and just distort and change the widths here so it feels like it's got that kind of slightly more fluid, pressured kind of pen tool or marker tool kind of feel to it, or marker look I should say. So we're just going to keep that there. And obviously what we can do here is when we're, you know, on the right, you know, color tool up here, I can change the color of this. Do you know what I mean? If I get that right and I make this the stroke, you can start to see, you know, it's because I'm playing with the wrong thing here, but I can change this into any of my existing brand colors here, which I've got saved. I'm just going to make this I'm just going to keep this one black. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the pencil tool. And obviously what you can do is you can scribble away, which is great. The sweet little tool that's in Affinity is this stabilizer tool, which you can see up in the top toolbar here. I'm going to make this black so you can see in a little bit more detail. But as you'll see, as I'm pulling down this line, you'll see this very cool little thing happening where it can become super smooth. But the beautiful thing here is if I want to kind of double back on myself, it makes a really clean shape, and it just gives me a huge amount of control. And this is just with the pen, the mouse. Do you know what I mean? Imagine if this was actually with like a stylus or a pen tool or something or whatever. So I'm just going to bring this over here, and I'm going to change that. You know, I'm going to get rid of that one because it doesn't look as good. Now, that's just a couple of things here. What I'm going to do, you know, a thing that for me, Affinity was missing for a little bit when I was kind of taking the transition and moving into it 18 months ago or so, was the live trace. So what I want to do here now is I just want to go and find my assets. And I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to just drag and drop. Some loser called Made by James has sent me a ping that's not a ping. So what I need to do is I need to live trace this. I want to turn it into a vector. So up in the top toolbar here, I can go to image trace now, and I get this little pop up here, and I can change the threshold and the fitting tolerance and all this kind of stuff. And now, when I push apply, you can see it look like nothing changed. This is how good this image trace is. Because what I can do now is I can now delete this. And you'll see that it is a full sweetie Irie vector. Do you know what I mean? Change the color, just change the fill color here. I've changed it to that. But you can start to see now that this is a fully customizable vector. I'm just going to make that black, and I'm going to get rid of the stroke. But what you can see here is I can now scale this easy peasy. I'm just going to kind of zoom in here a little bit and get my little node moving around tool here, and you can see this is now all vector. Do you know what I mean? Which is just delicious. And it is clean.af. Glad I got to use that. That's pretty cool. Right, okay, now let's go back. So I think right now that's probably enough messing around. Unless, in fact, no, sod it. Let's go just do a little, you know, logo dude, Boolean, shape building. Let's create just a few little cool little shapes, you know, because I'm so edgy. Timmy's laughing at me over there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create some shapes, and you can see up in my top toolbar here, I've got the Boolean and the shape building tools. I just want to subtract that. I'm just going to kind of rotate this little puppy, and I'm just going to move it around, and then I'm going to just create this combination, and then just I'm going to add this so this becomes one shape. And then obviously now I have my little X, which is cool, and I'm just going to pop one over here, not with a stroke on it. I'm going to get that up, and I'm going to go like there, and then I'm just going to copy and paste, and then make it big. And then bring another one over here, just change the size a little bit, and make that colour. Do not judge my very speedy design awesomeness here, but it's just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea of how easy and fluid this thing is. So what I am pretty happy with now is this vector play. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move us in to Pixel. So this is essentially moving from Illustrator into Photoshop, but I don't have to change apps or mess around. It's all happening in one app. So now you can see my toolbar slightly changes, and I've got like a little bit of a different look, especially in this top bar. But what we're going to do here is I just want to kind of show you something really cool, which is like kind of live layer filters, which is really, really nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my type tool here, and I'm just going to write funky. Funky. I'll probably want to change that color so we can all see it. There we go. Let's make it black here. So as you can see, we have this word funky now. Again, I am in Pixel here, which is obviously raster Photoshop version, you know, just for anybody that's trying to understand where we are. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply a live filter here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Pixel, then I'm going to go to New Live Filter, then I'm going to go to Distort, and then I'm going to go to Twirl. And then you'll get this lovely little thing up here, and you can play with stuff. And what you'll notice here, is I've got now a live filter going through this type. And if you look at my layer tab here, my layer stack, you'll see that this twirl is attached. I'll make it a little bit bigger there so you can see, is attached to the type itself, the type layer. But what's really freaky deaky cool, or should I say funky, I hate myself sometimes, don't worry. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag this above the type tool. So now essentially what I'm saying, if I drag it to the top of the artboard, as I move this around, you'll start to see it affecting everything underneath, including the logo. Do you know what I mean? How cool is that? That is how powerful and how quick this beauty is. So yeah, this is really, really cool. I love this. I love this kind of playfulness that you can start to see it live happening. Like, oh, do I want that? Or maybe I want to just kind of reduce that a little bit. And you know what the best thing is? I can actually kind of go over here and I can duplicate this, and I can bring another one over here. Maybe I want to just make that F a little funkier. Not too funky. Maybe I'll put it at the bottom. Yeah, there you go. And then what I want to do is I just want to duplicate that one. And I'll bring that over here as well. Maybe I'll... You know, we should never distort the logo, but it's my logo. I'll do whatever I want with it. So we'll just move that around a little bit like that. But as you can see, what's like absolutely awesome about this is that live nature to it. But again, if I just wanted this to work in the logo itself as I moved it around, it wouldn't affect anything else side by side, as you can see, which is a really cool... which is a really cool thing. I really like how like the layer filters and the live filters and the kind of layers work in Affinity, where you can make stuff and mask stuff really easily by just basically dragging and dropping stuff into different parts or different layers to only affect that layer, and you can move it above to affect everything, and blah, 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 blah. But for me, that is, I think, a very, very, very cool thing in Pixel, all right? But now, what I'm going to do, like I said, I'm trying to keep this nice and light, just so you can start to find things and have a little play yourself. What we're going to do is we are actually going to move into layout now. I want to show you something proper funky, all right? So, let's go over here. So, my friends, we've gone through vector and just played around with some pen tools, some vector tools, some pencils, some like little node movers, and did a bit of live trace. And then we went into Pixel, we messed around with some live filters, which was pretty cool to see. Now I just want to show you something super quick in layout. And again, like I'm not trying to teach you how to master this tool. I haven't mastered it by any means yet, but I just want to show you some cool things that I think are really, really quite powerful. So one quite cool thing is, let's imagine I've got all of this stuff here. So basically what we're in layout here, I quite like this little tool up here, which is toggle preview mode. So this obviously allows me to just like whatever I am focused on or clicked on is the only thing that's highlighted, which is quite nice, which is quite useful. But also, we are now in layout. So within layout, this is like your InDesign variation. And, you can do all your master pages, your bleed, your print setup, everything that you can do there, you can do here. So create your magazines, your flyers, your event kind of documents and all the rest of it. It's your brand docs, whatever you need, you can do it in here. But I've just very quickly set up this kind of 2-column kind of template here just to show you something really, really cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to place my logo, which is a separate .af file, into this template. I'm just going to show you some kind of cool text wrapping and then something very, very juicy. So I'm just going to go File, Place, then I'm going to scroll down to my folder here and I'm going to look for mbjlogo.af, and I'm just going to drag that delicious little number onto here. So as you can see, it's the top layer, nothing's really moving right now. But again, I'm like, do you know what? I want to change this to like mustard. Something mustard or white. I'm not too sure yet. But as you can see here, if we go to the layers palette, there is this mbjlogo.af. So if I now click on this, it now opens it up. This is now an embedded file, so I can, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this down here so you can see what's going to happen here, because this is mad when I first saw this and did this myself. So what I can actually do, which is absolutely wild. So what would happen usually is, like, say if you wanted to change something in your kind of like magazine layout, what you would have to do is you'd have to open up other programs, tweak it, relink it, import it, place it, do it all over again. And it's a really clunky way of working. But because we've got the 3 studios in one, what you can now do is pretty mad. So basically what I've done is I've opened up my embedded logo file. I've just selected it over here. And what you'll notice is that I can change it live. So everything that I'm doing in this embedded file is happening live in my layout file, which is mad. Look, let me just even like start to like grab like the node tool, and you'll start to see I can actually move this around and it's changing it live, which is mad, isn't it? That is the power of this crazy thing. Affinity is just delicious, juicy goodness. I'm going to keep that mustard yellow. Yeah, mustard, mate. Let's keep it that. So I don't even have to save it. I'm just going to close that down, and now it's done. Do you know what I mean? Lovely. But now I want to wrap said text around my logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into text, then I'm going to go into text wrap, then I go into show text wrap settings. And I've got these options here. I've got jump, square, tight, inside, edge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go tight like a tiger. And I'm going to just bump these up a little bit. But what you'll notice is that as I move this around live, it is beautifully changing based on where I want to put it. So if I want to put it in the middle, it wraps around. If I want to put it over here, it'll wrap nicely. It's just a really, and as I kind of scale the logo, it does it live. And I think that's just such a genius thing. Like, just from like a workflow perspective, like being able to go, oh, do you know what? What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to very quickly double click. I want to actually change this to blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this down just so you can see again. You know, I'm just going to change that to blue actually. Do you know what I mean? Just because I can. Or maybe pink, maybe green. Who knows? Whatever. But the fact of the matter is that you can do it live is absolutely wonderful. Super quick for workflow. It's sped me up a treat, especially when I'm building like brand docs and stuff for my clients, you know, because I can play with my mock-ups, tweak it, change it, maybe like kind of play with a little layer filter, maybe make that black and white, bing bang bosh, done. I don't have to just keep going in between loads of different programs. I can now do it all in here seamlessly, which is freaking great. So there you go, my friends. Hope that was enjoyable for you. I've got a lot of these coming. I'm going to be diving deeper into some more deeper case studies of actual client work where I'm taking it from concept all the way to final delivery of assets and all the rest of it. But thank you so much for being here. If you are not subscribed to this little channel, it's where I give all my freeness to you. So please, please, please subscribe. It's the smallest thing you can do to support me. So thank you so much. I'll see you next time. .af. All right.